There's not a faint chance in hell that this is funny. And when you see those flat, corny, late-night jokes, those are so cringy. There's a warm-up guy, and generally the warm-up guy's a failed comedian. What they're doing is just like reading off of a teleprompter. Colbert, there's Jimmy Kimmel, there's Fallon. There's literal applause signs that flash to tell you when to applaud. They're like, okay, explain to the people. Yeah. Okay, when Jimmy comes out, I want a big round of applause. Let's practice this right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Fallon. Yeah, and everybody claps.
Practice it.
Yes. They'll train the audience. The banter was fake. Their dialogue back and forth was scripted. So they were saying, so Andy, I understand you got married, and blah, 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 blah. Oh, well, and so they're reading it, and I'm watching the class.
Jimmy Fallon built a career on the safest sound in show business. That helium light giggle you hear just before the applause sign starts flashing. But what happens when the applause jams and two of the sharpest tongues in media, Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly, aim their spotlights at the king of cotton candy comedy?
This paragraph. Reporting things like having nightmares related to work, in a constant state of fear, being put on anti-anxiety medication, hair thinning, weakened nail beds, going to therapy. Some claim they had suicidal ideation as a result of the working environment. They reported, I'm like, what the hell did Jimmy Fallon do? What did he do? I read the next paragraph. It says,
Tonight, we're ripping off the confetti wrapper, exposing the teleprompter truth, and asking the one question network executives fear most. Is Jimmy Fallon laughing with America, or at the idea that we'll never notice the trick? Stick around, because the deeper we dig, the louder the studio silence gets. 1. The clap sign kingdom. Step into Studio 6B before showtime and you'll watch an almost military operation of manufactured mirth. A warm-up comic, usually someone whose own stand-up gigs now live on YouTube at 240p, pumps the crowd like a low-budget carnival barker. He shouts instructions the way flight attendants demo oxygen masks. When Jimmy pops through the curtain, you scream, you clap, you look like you've just won the Powerball. Next come practice rounds. Audience members who barely cracked smiles in the lobby suddenly roar on command. Overhead, a glowing panel flashes applause, like an amber traffic light that never turns red. By the time Jimmy Fallon finally pirouettes onto the polished stage, the room is primed to adore anything, even if anything is a 5th grade pun about daylight saving time. It's easy to forget there's a teleprompter just beyond camera 2, scrolling quips at a pace tailored to Fallon's trademark hop and giggle delivery. Those spontaneous exchanges with bandleader Questlove or sidekick Higgins. Written hours earlier by a committee of Ivy League joke writers who know exactly how far they can push before a sponsor's eyebrow twitches. Fallon's genius, if you can call it that, lies in selling pre-chewed humor as off-the-cuff charisma. And audiences bought it, until the cultural weather changed. The same viewers who once lined up for standby tickets discovered long-form podcasts where laughter arrives organically, not on cue. They learned the difference between amusement and authenticity.
because having worked at NBC, I understand people saying it's a toxic place to work. I do, trust me. However, it's rare to see somebody like Jimmy Fallon, who's supposed to be everybody's favorite late night guy, though not according to the ratings, come under this kind of scrutiny. And the controversy is getting bad. Now, I will tell you, he's not the worst. The Daily Show has the worst rating.
Suddenly, the clap sign kingdom looked less like Disneyland and more like an animatronic hall of presidents. Shiny, predictable, dull. So when Rogan grumbles on air, there's not a chance in hell that is funny. He isn't just tossing shade. He's describing the betrayal viewers feel the moment canned joy starts to taste metallic. And when Kelly recalls sitting in NBC's control room, watching Fallon and Higgins read pre-written banter that even the interns found corny, she confirms what many suspected. The show isn't live entertainment, it's an assembly line, and the applause sign is quality control. But cracks in a set can stay hidden until someone rattles the walls, and Joe Rogan was happy to bring the sledgehammer. 2. Rogan's autopsy of fake funny. Joe Rogan didn't start the Fallon roast with malice, he started with metrics. In Roganland, a conversation stretches 3 hours, spirals across quantum physics and elk hunting, then circles back to whether spontaneity can survive in a corporate cage. On the Joe Rogan Experience, comedians sweat because there's no teleprompter parachute. Scientists come armed with peer-reviewed journals, not Twitter talking points. Fakers implode in real time. Contrast that with Fallon's Tonight Show, A 42-minute product whittled by producers, cleared by legal, sprayed with Febreze, then sprinkled in YouTube-ready segments designed to rack up ad impressions. Rogan's core question: when did late night stop trusting itself to be dangerous? Danger is Rogan's native language, whether he's sparring in an octagon or asking Edward Snowden why the NSA still matters. Fallon, by comparison, is a polite valet who checks your coat, nods at your scandal, and waves you toward the karaoke machine. Rogan's biggest gripe isn't about political bias, it's about comedic malpractice. He describes watching a Fallon monologue about pandemic variants, set to the tune of Red, Red Wine, and feeling secondhand embarrassment ripple through his spine. Not because the joke bombed, but because no one in the studio dared let it bomb. The clap sign overrode every instinct to groan. Genuine feedback, the lifeblood of real comedy, flatlined. Fallon didn't adjust or acknowledge the crickets. He beamed, satisfied, because the illusion of laughter never shattered. Podcast culture flipped that script. Audiences now crave the messy moment, the bomb, the awkward pause, the fight. It's the crackle of authenticity Rogan listeners chase during commutes and late-night gym sessions. When something rings hollow, Reddit threads blister with commentary before the credits finish rolling. Fallon's brand, built on risk-free giggles, suddenly feels like diet soda in a craft beer market. Rogan articulated the stakes. If your comedy can't survive without a flashing neon laugh, it's not comedy, it's marketing. And marketing eventually gets skipped, blocked, or dumped into the spam folder of cultural memory. That's why Rogan's roast wasn't just a jab, it was a post-mortem. He called time of death on a format that once poked presidents, but now politely pats them on the shoulder and asks if they'd like to see a classroom of puppies on Zoom. Still, skepticism from an outsider is one thing. Hearing the rot described by someone who actually worked under the Peacock logo, that's where Megyn Kelly swings the autopsy table lamp even closer. 3. Kelly's NBC receipts, toxicity behind the curtain. Megyn Kelly spent years navigating NBC's glossy hallways, long enough to know the smell of panic in a ratings meeting and the hush of HR when star talent tips into diva territory. So when Rolling Stone dropped its expose alleging nightmare culture at The Tonight Show, Kelly's reaction wasn't shock, it was déjà vu. The piece quoted 16 staffers describing Jimmy Fallon mood swings, erratic feedback, and a climate where employees stashed anti-anxiety meds in desk drawers like snacks.
The reporting out of Rolling Stone is I'm conflicted, I'm going to be honest. Because kids today, they're so dramatic, Jesse. They left due to their mental health. They were fired. Rolling Stone reached out to 80 current and former staffers. Not a single one had positive things to say about working on The Tonight Show or for Jimmy.
He's like, if Pinterest came to life and got a talk show.
They have some examples. One employee said Fallon would write personal insults to staffers as opposed to constructive criticisms, such as, "Are you okay? Seriously, do you need help?" He's laughing. And, "Ugh, lame. What's going on with you? You've outdone yourself." The horror, Jesse.
Megyn, see, this is what I struggle with too. And are we dealing with somebody who's
Kelly's first move was to check the receipts. She phoned ex-colleagues, producers, even interns who'd shuffled green rooms. The stories aligned. Fallon was charming until the cue cards got shuffled or a joke flopped. Then the grin stiffened, and the same voice that gushed over celebrity guests reportedly snapped, "Are you okay? Seriously, do you need help?" A question, sure, but delivered with the ice of a manager who equates a typo with treason. Critics might scoff, snapping isn't abuse. And Kelly partly agrees. Newsrooms thrive on blunt critique. What troubled her was the whiplash between Fallon's on-air persona, America's giggling golden retriever, and the off-air tension so thick employees talked about hair loss and therapy bills. Authenticity isn't just telling jokes, it's treating your writers like humans when the red light turns off. NBC's response didn't help. "We're proud of The Tonight Show." No denial, no plan, just corporate oatmeal. Kelly remembers similar statements during her own network turbulence, a linguistic shrug that says, "We hope this blows over before advertisers notice." Why does workplace culture matter to viewers? Because every joke that glides across Fallon's desk carries fingerprints from exhausted writers who fear one wrong punchline could trigger a backstage meltdown. Creativity wilts in that climate, replaced by safe bits about hashtag games. That explains why Fallon's comedic edge blunted over time. It's hard to improvise when you're busy scanning the host's face for microstorms. Kelly dissected the timeline. Back in 2014, Fallon averaged 4 million nightly, fresh from SNL, brimming with musical impressions. By 2017, political tension demanded sharper satire. Meanwhile, insiders whisper Fallon's nerves spiked after the infamous Trump hair ruffle backlash. Instead of pivoting into pointed humor like Colbert, Fallon curled deeper into fluff, barking at staff when segments fell flat. Ratings fell. Pressure rose. The cycle fed on itself. One former segment producer told Kelly off record, "We spent 6 hours brainstorming a sketch starring 3 life-size fidget spinners because it felt safe. No politics, no chance of viral outrage, just guaranteed applause from 30 Rock tourists." That sketch never aired, thanks standards and practices, but the anecdote illustrates the depth of risk aversion. Kelly's verdict stung. Fallon isn't a monster. He's a mirror for what happens when corporate caution neuters creative leadership. Snapping at staff becomes the outlet for pressure he's too afraid to channel into sharper content. NBC, desperate to keep advertisers from fleeing, enabled the cycle. The result? A supposedly joyous workplace where producers dread Mondays and viewers drift to podcasts for unscripted honesty. And it's not just emotional fallout. Kelly flagged the attrition numbers. According to internal leaks, writer room turnover nearly doubled between 2018 to 2022. Each exit stripped institutional memory, inside jokes, guest rapport, comedic chemistry. Fallon's entourage resembled a revolving door of fresh faces, scribbling jokes they hoped wouldn't trigger a sigh. All this unseen toxicity would be survivable if ratings still soared. But as Section 4 reveals, the audience fled faster than the interns. 4. Ratings. Iceberg, the slow sink of a late-night liner. In the glory days of broadcast, The Tonight Show rating was a cultural pulse. Johnny Carson waved goodnight, and 15 million Americans exhaled. Even Jay Leno, often dismissed as vanilla, dominated Nielsen charts at 5 million a night. Fallon inherited that legacy in 2014, launching with 11.3 million viewers after the Olympics. Analysts predicted a decade of dominance. Instead, the numbers chart a chilling slide. 4 million by 2016, 2.3 million in 2018, 1.3 million in 2020-2024. Compare that to Greg Gutfeld on cable, 2 million at 11 p.m., with a budget that wouldn't cover Fallon's prop department. Meanwhile, The Daily Show, once a satire titan under Jon Stewart, limps at 366K. Seth Meyers hovers under 1 million. The message: traditional late night is bleeding out, and Fallon's comedic blood transfusion is cotton candy. Networks blame cord cutting. True, but platform shift doesn't explain why Rogan rockets to 11 million downloads in 2 days, while Fallon's YouTube uploads plateau at 300K. The difference is content elasticity. Rogan episodes don't expire. 2019 chats still collect views because ideas age slower than sketches about hoverboards. Fallon's monologue about iPhone X facial recognition felt dated by lunchtime next day. Advertisers notice. CPM rates for late-night inventory dipped 22% since 2021. Peacock clips offset some losses, but streaming pennies can't replace broadcast dollars. That's why Fallon's salary, reportedly $16 million, now looks like gilded ballast on a sinking ship. NBC's bean counters quietly shuffle promos for The Voice into Tonight Show slots, a tacit admission they'd rather push a singing contest than bank on Fallon's viral roulette. Demographics tell another story. Median age for Fallon's audience is 59, a demographic coveted by pharmaceutical ads, but deadly for brand categories that chase Gen Z. Those younger viewers snack on TikTok satire, share SNL out-of-context sketches, or binge political comedy on Twitch. They don't tune in at 11:35 p.m., waiting for a guy in a suit to play Wheel of Musical Impressions for the 27th time. Megyn Kelly laid it out. The Tonight Show's business model is renting nostalgia to people who don't realize nostalgia has moved to streaming. Meanwhile, Rogan and independent creators built platforms immune to time slots, censorship delays, and sponsor vetoes. They talk for hours because the internet rewards depth. Fallon trims everything to 4-minute segments because TV sells breadth. Fallon could have fought back. Colbert pivoted hard into Trump satire and reclaimed the demo lead. But Fallon, spooked by backlash when he tousled Trump's hair, retreated into safer ground. That choice cemented the ratings spiral. Advertisers crave clarity. Fallon delivered tepid neutrality. Viewers responded with yawns. Rolling Stone's toxicity article only accelerated the exodus. When internal staff hemorrhage collides with external audience flight, even billion-dollar institutions panic. Rumor mills whisper that NBC quietly explored guest host rotations during writers' strike downtime, testing chemistry, hedging bets. If Fallon's Q score keeps sliding, the Peacock might pivot before the Olympic cycle's return. Falling ratings explain NBC's headaches, but they don't fully capture Fallon's cultural anemia. For that, we need to examine the couch that doubles as Hollywood's damage control chamber. 5. The PR Safe Space Couch. Jimmy Fallon's leather armchair should have its own SAG card. It starred in more redemption arcs than any prestige drama. Celebrities facing backlash booked The Tonight Show like sinners booking confessional booths. Got caught screaming at a barista? Play Pictionary with Jimmy and leave smelling like fresh puppies. Box office flop? Lip Sync battle cures ticket sales faster than Instagram ads. The formula is simple. Fallon opens with exaggerated enthusiasm. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the amazing, the incredible, the inspirational, while audiences obey the clap sign. He asks 0 probing questions, pivots to a party game, and ends with, "You're the best, come back anytime." PR reps love the arrangement. Viewers, once fooled by the sparkle, now see the strings. Take 2021, when a Marvel star got roasted for past tweets. Fallon granted her 8 cushy minutes to giggle about childhood pets, then surprised her with a random karaoke segment conveniently showcasing her new single. Not one mention of the controversy. Twitter exploded with side-by-side clips. Fallon ignoring scandal versus other hosts pressing for answers. Result: ratings blip on the night, credibility dip forever. Joe Rogan dissected the tactic. It's not an interview. It's a spa day for reputations. On his podcast, guests who dodge hard topics get gently, sometimes brutally, pulled back on track. Listeners reward the authenticity with loyalty. Fallon's strategy, by contrast, treats the audience like children, shield them from tension, feed them sugar. Problem is, adults eventually crave protein. Megyn Kelly provided a behind-the-scenes anecdote. A publicist once pitched her show a celebrity mid-scandal. NBC demanded tough questions. The publicist declined, choosing Fallon instead. Outcome: the celeb played slapjack and left triumphant. Months later, the scandal resurfaced with new evidence, making Fallon's softball session look complicit at best, cynical at worst. Why does Fallon lean into fluff? Partly the ecosystem. NBC's late-night block sells itself as America's after-hours comfort, but comfort became a straitjacket. Sketch producers storyboard around brand safety spreadsheets. Sponsors nudge segment ideas. Candy companies love celebrity whisper challenge. Telecom giants adore virtual lip-sync Zoom windows. The show has mutated into 51 weeks of integrated marketing disguised as silliness. Substance is inversely proportional to deliverables. And yet, Fallon himself once possessed sharp instincts. Early SNL appearances had glimpses of a comedian willing to break, but continual waves of HR-approved sparkle wore down the edges. Staffers tell Kelly that edgy pitches die in table reads when Jimmy's brow furrows at potential social media blowback. Cue cards get rewritten, sarcasm gets sanded, another safe bit gets born. The PR couch effect also erodes the art of conversation. Actor after actor sits down knowing nothing uncomfortable will rise. That predictability kills spontaneity. Why share a raw anecdote when the host is preset to squeal at funny hats? Meanwhile, Rogan's show thrives on unpredictable digressions. Astronauts debating DMT, comedians confessing insecurities, moments TMZ can't script. Consequences ripple outward. Cultural icons used to sweat late night because a single piercing question could define headlines. Now, they treat Fallon like a social media filter that erases blemishes. Audiences notice and disengage. Ironically, in trying to offend no one, Fallon's show attracts only those content with nothing. And where do nothings come from? Section 6 reveals the conveyor belt of consultants and cue card caretakers stamping out risk like factory rejects. 6. Writers in handcuffs. Brand safe joke factory. Picture a late-night writer's room circa 2024. A fresh Harvard grad pitches a savage political zing. The head writer checks a color-coded spreadsheet. Red cells mean taboo for beverage sponsor. Yellow cells flagged by standards and practices. Green cells safe. The zing falls into a yellow-red overlap, a risk to be reimagined. 3 rewrites later, the line becomes a lukewarm pun about avocado toast. The original punch is gone, replaced by a smile everyone forgets 13 seconds later. Welcome to Tonight Show Comedy Engineering. It's not that writers lack talent. The pipeline of stand-ups and improv alumni remains strong. The problem is the algorithm of fear. Fear of hashtags, advertiser exits, toxic headlines. Writers shrivel under Slack messages like legal needs alt lines or can we lose the word weasel? It polls poorly with Midwestern demo. Jimmy Fallon's infamous pandemic variant song epitomizes this dynamic. Someone pitched satire, network execs requested upbeat. Music producers suggested UB40 parody, legal cleared lyrics, marketing flagged it for TikTok synergy. Fallon recorded the segment in a pastel sweater, dancing next to costumed viruses. It flopped spectacularly, but not before clearing 15 approval steps. Rogan replayed a clip on his show, speechless, then cackled. It's not comedy, it's a compliance department with jazz hands. Megyn Kelly interviewed a former Tonight Show joke writer who claimed the ratio of ideas pitched to jokes aired was 20-1, not because ideas stank, but because every edgy line died in internal review. One day she left the office muttering, I got a master's in satire to write dad jokes about Bluetooth toothbrushes. She quit, joined a podcast, and now writes viral sketches free of sponsor shackles. Advertisers aren't villains. They pay the bills. Yet when brand safety tyrannizes creativity, the result is a comedic hospital waiting room, soft pastel walls, inoffensive magazines, elevator music for laughs. NBC hired consultants post-2016 to monitor audience sentiment. These consultants offer heat map reports on joke transcripts. Red zones denote potential outrage points. Writers pre-sanitize material, turning monologues into jello. Meanwhile, Rogan operates with a fraction of Fallon's budget and near total autonomy. A tense debate over vaccines might cost him sponsors, but it gains listener trust. Rogan's algorithm is inverse. Risk equals authenticity equals loyalty. Fallon's algorithm, risk equals headlines equals boardroom panic. And audiences, they're not toddlers shielding eyes from real talk. Gen Z's favorite TikTok comedians dunk on political scandals with profanity filters off. They treat honesty like oxygen. Fallon's sanitized humor feels like holding breath underwater. Viewers surface on other platforms gasping for fresh takes. The bigger tragedy lies in missed opportunity. Late night once thrived as real-time social commentary. Johnny Carson's monologues shaped water-cooler discussion. David Letterman unleashed top 10 lists that sliced hypocrisy. Even Jay Leno, criticized for playing safe, routinely skewered corporate crooks. Fallon's era replaced those knives with foam bats, ensuring no one bruises, least of all the host. But the cultural impact of dulled comedy extends beyond ratings. Section 7 explores how Fallon's cotton candy approach leaves a satire vacuum that edgier voices rush to fill. 7. The satire blackout and rise of Rogan Kelly realism. When mainstream satire softens, subcultures sharpen. Fallon's reluctance to tackle politics coincides with a golden age of commentary podcasts, independent YouTube shows, and irreverent TikTok mashups. Younger audiences craving unfiltered humor slide into Discord servers where comedians riff without censors. The result? Power critics shift from network studios to converted garages. Joe Rogan became a household name not by chasing virality, but by allowing conversation to wander. Listeners trust him precisely because sponsors occasionally flee. Proof the discussion isn't pre-laundered. Megyn Kelly's post-Fox resurgence likewise rests on candor. Her audience expects confrontation, not karaoke. Together, Rogan and Kelly embody the pendulum swinging away from corporate curated laughter. Cultural theorists label this moment the trust exodus. Polls by Edelman show faith in traditional media at record lows, while trust in people like me, i.e. independent creators, rises. Fallon is collateral damage. He operates inside the very institution audiences now distrust. His show might still host A-listers, but the conversation's soul left the building. This vacuum has consequences. Political satire once served as entry-level civic engagement. Without it, misinformation thrives on fringe channels. Rogan's long form helps, but he's one man. Fallon had the megaphone of network TV and chose squeaky toys. Kelly argued, when mainstream abdicates hard questions, fringe voices decide the answers. That's dangerous. The blackout isn't just political. Cultural critiques, Me Too nuances, AI ethics, vaccine transparency require late-night digestion. Colbert still tries, but his brand leans partisan. Fallon could bridge divides with genuine curiosity. Instead, he chooses paint-by-numbers whimsy. Viewers cross the street to podcasts where nuance lives. Advertisers will follow eyeballs. Already, big brands sponsor edgier online shows once deemed too risky. They realize controversy triggers engagement deeper than a mimified lip sync. Fallon's shrinking audience means shrinking at budgets, which means even tighter creative leashes. A doom loop. The Rogan Kelly roast crystallizes this shift. Their tag team takedown went viral because it told a story networks ignored. The Emperor of Late Night has no jokes, only gifs. Audiences hungry for authenticity devoured the critique. Fallon responded with silence, then posted a TikTok of him and Selena Gomez tasting hot sauce. Comments section. Bro, address Rogan. He never did. In failing to confront criticism, Fallon inadvertently validated it. Comedy thrives on self-awareness. Ignoring a roast is comedic malpractice. Rogan invited Fallon to his podcast. Open forum, no prep. NBC declined. Kelly offered Fallon a segment on her show to rebut toxicity claims. Crickets. The allergic reaction to unscripted spaces proves Rogan's thesis. Fallon can't survive without cue cards, applause signs, and PR flak jackets. And so we approach the final chapter. What happens next? To Fallon, to late night, to viewers who now see behind the silky curtain. 8. Fallout, legacy, and the call for courage. Jimmy Fallon won't vanish overnight. Network inertia, advertiser contracts, and the slow churn of institutional change keep shows on life support longer than a mediocre sitcom season. But reputations decay faster than viewership stats. Inside entertainment circles, a new phrase circulates. Don't go full Fallon. Translation, don't become so inoffensive you turn invisible. NBC faces crossroads. Option 1. Double down on comfort, hope nostalgia sells to remaining boomers. Option 2. Reinvent The Tonight Show as a fearless platform. Hire writers unafraid of cancellations, allow Fallon or a successor to stumble, learn, grow. Sources whisper execs floated rotating guest hosts during the Writers Guild strike precisely to test backup plans. The strongest ratings bump came from a stand-up comic who delivered a blistering monologue on big tech censorship, proof appetite for edge persists. Fallon himself confronts a choice scarier than a bad sketch. Evolve or fade. Evolution means risk. Addressing controversies, interviewing foes, letting silence hang without forced laughter. It means saying no to a producer when they queue up another hashtag game, and yes to a scientist ready to bulldoze a comfortable narrative. It means ditching the applause sign and trusting genuine connection. But even radical reinvention can't erase legacy. Fallon will be remembered as the host who treated world-shaking events like funny props. During a pandemic, he sang variant parodies. Amid political upheaval, he lip-synced with Justin Timberlake. In cultural reckonings, he asked Ariana Grande about her favorite emoji. That will shadow him like canned laughter in an empty studio. For Rogan and Kelly, the episode marks proof of concept. Mainstream figures can be held accountable without partisan venom. Just merciless honesty. Their alliance, opposite ends of political spectrum, signals a future where credibility hinges on truth, not tribal alignment. Podcasters, newsletter authors, and decentralized creators smell blood in Nielsen waters. Viewers, meanwhile, possess new power. They curate feeds, skip commercials, fact-check in real time. Applause signs can't coerce them. Sponsors study social sentiment dashboards. They'll back shows with fervent, even contentious engagement over zombie claps. The market is resetting. And the lesson? Entertainment that refuses discomfort will eventually experience irrelevance. Fallon's downfall isn't a triumph for cynicism. It's a cautionary beacon. Genuine laughter survives scrutiny. Manufactured giggles dissolve under a single spotlight of candid critique. So here's the invitation to the audience. The final thought that lingers after the timestamp hits 17:59. Demand more from anyone who asks for your nightly trust. If a host won't risk offense, they've already offended your intelligence. Click away. Reward the platforms that test ideas, tolerate awkward pauses, and chase truth even when it misbehaves. Laughter born from that soil will shake rafters longer than any choreographed kazoo finale. As for Jimmy Fallon, he can still pivot, he can still ditch the foam bats, silence the clap sign, and rediscover the reckless spark that once made him break on Weekend Update. But the clock is ticking, the mute buttons hover, and audiences have learned to switch tabs faster than a drummer shifts beats. If Fallon won't evolve, the culture will. Because in 2025, the real joke isn't on the host who dares to push boundaries, it's on the one who still thinks safe equals funny.